I never wanted the house. I didn't even know my great-uncle Lionel existed until the letter came. The letter, typed neatly on cream-colored parchment, arrived in a sealed envelope with a family crest I'd never seen before. According to the lawyer, Lionel had passed away without any children and had chosen me, the youngest of the remaining bloodline, as the sole heir. I was 23, broke, and barely hanging on to a college scholarship. I didn't ask questions. I packed a duffel bag and took the overnight train to the sleepy town of Renswick Hollow. The house stood at the edge of a dark wood, like something out of a forgotten tale. Gothic, tall, and vine-wrapped, it had towers, gables, and windows that looked like eyes watching from a face too old to speak. Inside, it smelled like old books, dust, and something metallic. Not rot, not decay, a faint hint of iron in the air, like the house had bled once and was still healing. There was no electricity when I arrived, just candle holders in the walls and an old rotary phone mounted by the door. The place was cold, even in mid-spring, and the silence was deep, almost aggressive. Every creak of a floorboard, every sigh of the wind through broken shutters, felt. Noticed I made the second-floor bedroom mine. The bed was antique but solid, the mattress surprisingly comfortable. I spent the first few days exploring the house attic, cellar, parlor, and, most curiously, the study. The study was floor-to-ceiling. Bookshelves, all loaded with leather-bound volumes I'd never heard of. No fiction, no history textbooks. Just strange titles like The Thought Engine and The Cartographer's Key. Languages I didn't know. Alphabets that slithered and curled like vines. One shelf stood against the far wall, thicker and more worn. Then the others, jammed with massive tomes, bound in deep brown leather. That shelf always seemed colder. I would have ignored it. I should have, but it wasn't just the cold. It was the draft. I noticed it one night while reading at the desk. Candle flame shivered sideways. The room was closed, windows locked. Still, there it was, gentle breeze from nowhere, cool against my cheek. I leaned in. The bookshelf had a slight gap behind it. Just a sliver, but enough. Enough to feel the air coming through. And something else, a sound, not a whisper. Not quite, more like breathing. Slow, measured, almost muffled by a wall. I pressed my ear to the shelf and closed my eyes. Inhale, pause. Exhale, I jerked back. A logical person would say old houses have strange air currents, echo chambers, wind tunnels. But that breathing didn't come with the house settling. It was steady, intentional. I didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, I returned to the study. I pushed at the bookshelf. Nothing. It was part of the wall. I tried to pry a book loose from the far side. Perhaps there was a trigger mechanism, but the books didn't budge. They weren't fake, either, real books, but they felt staged. I tried pulling, nothing. Then I noticed a dent on the wooden floor grooves, faint but present, like something heavy had once been dragged away from the wall, then pushed back in place. So I went to the garage, found a crowbar, and returned. The effort took an hour. The shelf fought me, groaned like a beast woken from sleep. But then movement. Entire structure shifted an inch. Then another. It scraped across the floor, dust raining down from the top, until finally, after more sweat than I'd expected, I revealed the truth. A door, old wooden, reinforced with iron bands. The handle was brass, shaped like a lion's head with a ring in its mouth. My great-uncle Lionel's symbol. I stood there for a long time. Behind me, the candle flickered again. The draft returned stronger. Now, it was definitely coming from the space beyond the door. I should have left it closed. Instead, I pulled the handle. The door didn't creak. It didn't groan. It opened silently, smoothly, like it had been waiting. Beyond the door was a narrow stone hallway, the walls slick with moisture, the floor uneven with worn bricks. A lantern sat on a small table beside the threshold, and next to it, a journal. A thick leather-bound book with a ribbon marked halfway through. I opened it. The handwriting was scrawled, rushed, but readable. To whoever finds this, you must listen. The door is not a passage. It is a test. A trap. A hunger. I opened it, thinking knowledge lay within. But I was wrong. It sees me now. It sees everything. Close the door. Seal it. And never look back. The last page was dated only 3 months ago. My uncle's signature beneath it. The hallway beyond. The door seemed darker now. Something shifted in the shadows, barely perceptible, but real. I picked up the lantern, lit it with my candle, and stepped through. Behind me, the bookshelf began to move on its own. The door didn't shut. It disappeared. The moment I stepped across the threshold, the air changed. It grew thicker, heavier, like walking underwater. My lantern's flame flickered weakly, casting small pools of light that didn't travel far. Swallowed by the stone corridor's unnatural darkness. The door had vanished behind me. Where I expected wood and brass, there was now just cold stone, seamless and blank. I pressed my hands against it, felt 4 edges, seams, hinges, nothing. No trace of a door. I was inside, and the house had let me in, but not out. I forced myself forward, trying to stay calm, trying to focus on the rhythm of my breathing. My footsteps echoed too loudly, even though I tried to step quietly. The walls were close, narrowing in some places, so I had to squeeze sideways. And the draft. It was constant, pulsing like breath from somewhere deeper in. After what felt like 20 minutes of walking, the hallway widened. It opened into a round chamber. The lantern's flame flared as if feeding on something unseen, revealing a domed room with 6 passageways branching out like spokes on a wheel. At the center was a stone pedestal with carvings I couldn't read, symbols like the ones in the strange books upstairs. I approached the pedestal cautiously. On top was a shallow bowl filled with ash. In the ash, half-burned scraps of parchment curled like dead leaves. I reached for one, brushing away soot. The writing was in English. Path of memory, path of blood, path of flame. Choose once, choose wisely. Each of the 6 tunnels had a symbol above it, chiseled into the archway. One looked like an eye. One looked like a key. Another resembled a flame. The others were more abstract, jagged lines, interlocking spirals, a droplet. I didn't know what they meant, but I wasn't going to sit there forever. One chose the passage. With the key symbol, seemed logical, maybe symbolic, maybe literal. The hallway was shorter this time and opened into a library, or at least a room full of books. Towering shelves, much like the ones upstairs, loomed over me. But these shelves were warped, bending unnaturally, their spines facing inward as if trying to read each other, and the books. Some were whispering, not wind, not my imagination. I walked slowly through the rows, listening. Pages fluttered. Voices murmured. My lantern cast moving shadows across the warped wood and rows of cracked leather bindings. One book was open on a table at the center of the room. I approached it cautiously. The page held a sketch of me. I froze. There I was, my face, my clothes, the lantern in my hand. The expression on the drawing's face was different, though. It was screaming. Below the sketch was a handwritten caption. He chose the path, but not the price. The flame dimmed. The voices grew louder. I backed away. Books on the shelves started to shift, shiver, as if vibrating with suppressed energy. One fell to the ground with a wet thud, not a dry slap, but a squelch. I turned to run, but the rows were different. The path I came from no longer existed. Shelves had rearranged. The room was alive, and it didn't want me to leave. My breathing quickened. I pushed through the narrow rows, the lantern barely illuminating anything beyond a few feet. I passed more sketches on the walls, now of people screaming, running, falling into darkness. One showed a man clawing at a stone wall with bleeding fingers. Another was of a child curled up in a corner, eyes hollow. Then I saw a door, wooden, small, almost hidden behind a curtain of black drapes. I didn't think. I lunged for it, gripped the cold iron handle, and yanked it open. The room on the other side was pitch black. I stepped in. Silence. Then the door slammed shut behind me. I spun, slammed my palm against it locked. Gone. Nothing but stone again. And this time, even the lantern flickered out. I stood in total darkness. Then something lit up ahead, a soft glow. A single candle burning on the floor, and behind it, a figure. Tall, motionless, watching me. I couldn't see its face, but I could feel its gaze. Heavy, piercing, like it was measuring something. Inside me. The flame between us flared, revealing more. The figure had no eyes, no mouth, just skin stretched tightly across its face. Its hands were long, fingers too many, and it held something in one of them. A book. The cover was the same as the journal I'd found outside the door. It stepped forward. I backed away, my hand brushing the wall. Then the voice came not from the figure, but inside my head. Read it, or be written. I shook my head, fear clawing at my throat. But the figure kept coming. Read or be written. The book opened by itself. And on the first page was my name, my full name, my handwriting. And below, it is new entry writing itself. He ran. He denied. The house will remember. I screamed. Everything went white. And when I opened my eyes, was back in the study, back in the house. The bookshelf closed behind me. But something was wrong. The room was slightly off. The books were in different places. The candle had burned down to a stump, and the date on my phone. 1 year had passed. When I saw the date on my phone, exactly 1 year later, I dropped it. It clattered onto the floor, screen flickering as if the device itself was rejecting the truth. I grabbed it again, double-checked, then checked the clock on the wall. Then, my wristwatch. All three matched. A full year, gone. No messages, no calls, nothing in my inbox. It was like I had ceased to exist for 12 whole months and no one had noticed. I stumbled out of the study, heart pounding, breath shallow. My house was quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence you only find in abandoned places. The air was cold, heavy, still. My footsteps felt too loud as I moved through the hallway. That's when I saw it. A note pinned to my refrigerator door. Written. In my handwriting, don't go back. Burn the bookshelf. Seal the room. Don't let them in again. The paper trembled in my fingers. I didn't remember writing it, but I recognized the way I looped my G. It was mine. I rushed to the mirror in the hallway, looked at myself. My beard had grown longer. My hair was shaggy. My clothes, same as when I entered the hidden passage, except now they were dustier. The edges frayed. I hadn't just skipped forward in time. I had lived it, somewhere else. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced the house. With every light on, I tried calling friends. No one answered. It wasn't that I had no service. My phone worked fine. But every number rang endlessly or went straight to voicemail. I opened my email, my bank accounts, my social media, everything. Untouched. Frozen. My last post, a meme from over a year. I'll go. No new charges on my cards. My last search, antique bookshelf, hidden compartment. It was like I had pressed pause on the world and it had returned the favor. But then came the sound. Scratching. From behind the bookshelf again, faint. At first, barely noticeable. Then, louder. Rhythmic. Scratch, ... scratch, ... tap, ... tap, ... Scratch. I grabbed a hammer and went straight for it. I wasn't going back. I wasn't opening that passage again. If this was a story trying to write me into its pages, I was going to. End the story. I swung hard at the shelf wood splintered. I ripped it down piece by piece, tearing into the wall behind it, hammering the frame. And when I peeled back the last panel, I expected to see the stone tunnel. But there was nothing. Just drywall. Ordinary insulation. Wires, pipes. No door, no passage. No ancient corridor. I stood there in disbelief, hammer trembling in my hand. Was it all a hallucination? No, it couldn't be. I had aged. My beard, my phone's clock, the journal, the warning note, the figure, the book writing my name. I decided to burn the bookshelf remains, just as the note said. I piled the pieces in the backyard fire pit and lit them ablaze. The wood crackled. Smoke curled up into the sky. The flames danced unnaturally, casting shapes faces. For a second I saw mine screaming inside them. I turned away. That night, I tried to sleep again. I almost didn't till 3:33 a.m. That was the time. Every clock in my house flickered to it. And all at once, every book I owned fell to the floor. Dozens of them, toppling in unison, like they'd been pushed from the shelves by invisible hands. I rushed to the living room, heart racing, and there it was. A single book resting in the center of the floor. Not one I owned. The same cover as the one the eyeless figure held. Same dark leather. Same feeling of dread crawling across my skin. The title etched on the front, this time clearly legible. The House's Guest. I opened it. And again, on the first page, my name. More entries. He destroyed the door. But doors can be rewritten. He forgot the key. He forgot the price. He returned without leaving. Now the house will come to him. I slammed it shut. I threw it into the fire pit. This time, it didn't burn. The flames licked around it but left the cover untouched. I buried it instead, deep in the forest behind my house. But the next morning, it was back, on my pillow, open to a new page. Bearing the truth doesn't end the story. It deepens it. And beneath that, Chapter 2, the mirror. My bedroom mirror had cracked overnight. And in the reflection I wasn't alone. There was someone standing behind me, a shadow. But when I turned around, no one was there. I didn't look into that mirror again. Not after seeing that figure behind me. Not after I turned and saw nothing, yet still felt breath on the back of my neck. I covered the mirror with a sheet. Then, just to be safe, I smashed it. But it didn't break. No matter how many times I swung the hammer, the glass held dripping like water, reflecting nothing behind me. Just darkness. A void. I backed away. And then the book was back again, sitting in the middle of my kitchen table, like it had never left, open to a new page. This time, it said, Chapter 3, The House Comes Home. Below it, a single line. He took the door away. A P. But the house rewrites paths. A P slammed the book shut, locked it in a metal box, wrapped it in chains, and hid it in the crawl space. That night, I woke up in the hallway, not my bed. I don't remember getting up. I don't remember walking up. But I stood there barefoot, holding a candle that wasn't mine, staring at the now repaired bookshelf. Yes, it was back. The exact same bookshelf, fully intact. The wall behind it was cold stone. The secret door had returned. Worse, there was now a key dangling from a hook on the shelf. A rusted ornate key shaped like an old quill with a symbol I had only seen once before in the journal that vanished with the secret room. I didn't touch it. I turned to leave, but the hallway behind me was gone, replaced by the stone corridor once more. As if the house had rotated its bones around me, turning itself inside out, trapping me. I had never left. The realization hit like a punch to the chest. All that time, the year that passed, the mirrors, the reflections, the book. They weren't signs that something followed me home. They were warnings. The house had never let me go. It had only created the illusion of escape, rewriting my surroundings, mimicking my life until I relaxed, let my guard down, allowed it to rebuild the door from memory. The house had used me to recreate itself. It remembered. And now it wanted the rest of me. I wandered the corridor again. This time, it was different. The torches on the walls were out, but a dull purple light glowed from the cracks in the stone floor. Every step I took echoed with whispers I couldn't understand. At first, they sounded like Latin, then like screams underwater, and then, finally, like my own voice. Why did you open it? Why did you stay? You should have burned the house. I ran. Through winding halls. Doors without handles. Staircases that went up and down at the same time. I found a room. Circular. Empty. A giant mirror stood in the center. And in that mirror I saw every version of myself that ever entered that door. Some of them were screaming. Some of them were trying to warn me. One of them, just one, was smiling. That one lifted its hand and pointed to the ground. I looked down, message etched in the stone. Choose the right name to exit. Suddenly, the mirror cracked down the center, and the smile from the reflection widened inhumanly wide. I backed away. The door behind me closed. The book appeared again, floating now, hovering inches above the floor, glowing. It opened. Inside, 5 names were written on the page. Only one was mine. The others were twisted versions of it, slightly off, like bad photocopies. I hesitated. If I chose the wrong one, would I become one of them? The reflections, the book, began to burn from the edges, smoke curling up around the letters. I had seconds. I closed my eyes, took a breath, then touched the 3rd name down. Everything went black. And when I opened my eyes, I was in my living room. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Birds chirped. I collapsed, laughing, crying. Exhausted, but something was wrong. My bookshelf. It wasn't there. The space where it once stood was now replaced with a smooth, unbroken wall. The door was truly gone. I checked the mirrors. Nothing behind me. I checked the crawl space. The book was gone. I thought it was finally over until I got the letter. It arrived a week later. No return address. Inside was a photograph of me, standing in that mirror room, eyes wide, smiling. On the back of the photo, written in blood-red ink, "You chose the wrong name." The photograph didn't lie. It showed me standing in that mirror room, but I had never seen that version of myself before. The eyes were wrong, hollow, too wide, too calm. That smile didn't belong to me. I dropped the photo, but, before it hit the floor, vanished, like ash caught in wind. I didn't sleep that night, because even with the bookshelf gone, I could hear whispers behind the wall, scratching, like nails dragging across old wood. And then, at exactly 3:03 a.m., the air in my apartment went still. No hum from the fridge, no sounds from outside. Total silence. Then the knocking began. 3 slow knocks on the exact spot where the bookshelf had once stood. I didn't answer, but I felt the pull to open that wall, to break through. The plaster, to tear my fingers bloody if I had to, just to reach the door that wasn't supposed to exist anymore. And I almost did, but I remembered the photo. The smiling version of me. I knew now what the house was. It wasn't just a place, it was a trap. It's a hungry thing that lured people with curiosity, fed on confusion, and twisted reality until you weren't sure what was real anymore. The door didn't open into a hidden room. It opened into a pocket dimension, a mimic house, built of memories and stitched with fear. Every time someone discovered the door, the house adapted, learned, became more convincing, more familiar. And when you finally let your guard down, it replaced you. Just like it had tried to replace me. But I escaped, didn't I? I started to wonder, what if the me that made it out wasn't really me? What if I was still in the mirror room, staring at a cracked reflection, and the real me never left? The thoughts became intrusive, constant. Then, I found the key again. On my nightstand, it's the same rusted key shaped like a quill, now warm to the touch, as if someone had just held it. I threw it out the window. The next morning, it was back. I burned it. It returned again this time, tucked into my pillowcase. The house wasn't gone. It was waiting, rebuilding. And then, one night, the bookshelf returned, fully restored. Not rebuilt with new wood, but exactly as it was: scratches, dust, the same old books in perfect order. And this time, the door behind it was already open. I could see the corridor, lit with flickering lanterns, silent. At the far end stood me, but older. Worn eyes, sunken, smiling. He lifted a hand and gestured for me to come in. And then I saw what was behind him. Not just another hallway. A library, vast and endless, filled with hundreds, no thousands of books, all with my name on the spine. Each one labeled with a chapter. A different life, different choices, different endings. All versions of me that had walked through that door. All of them trapped. Between pages, I shut the door, pushed the bookshelf in place, nailed it shut, screwed it into the wall, poured cement over the floor, moved out the next morning, started fresh in a new city. No bookshelves, no antique furniture, no hidden doors. But yesterday, I passed an old bookstore on my way home, and in the window, displayed prominently behind the glass, was a single book with a worn leather cover. The title read, "The Final Chapter." No author, just a symbol I knew too well, a key, shaped like a quill. I didn't go inside. But I know it's only a matter of time. The door's still out there, waiting to be opened. And the house. It remembers. Thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment "end" so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know, where are you watching from? Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought, and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. Until to the next one, stay happy. Goodbye.